Hello, everyone, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World, brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com as well as DizBoards.com. We are here. I am your host, Rhino Clavin. Start off with that. Today's topic is Steve Porter's top 5 worst attractions at Walt Disney World. That is going to be his least favorite topics. And to help me have this discussion, we've got Corey. I'm not going to say your last name this time.
Okay, we're not doing it this time. All right, guys.
Fiascanaro, Steve Porter, of
Hello.
course, and Craig Williams.
Hi.
So we've done an episode before where we did Steve's top 5 best attractions, his favorites, and now we need to do the other way around. And we'll kind of continue this topic and do these with different members of our team as we go, because it offers you a little bit of a different perspective and what to you can vicariously live through our shoes, I guess, here. But Steve, hit us up. What's your I don't know how to word this. Your fifth least favorite attraction.
Okay. I actually made a last-minute change between my 4 and 5, but number 5, Voyage of the Little Mermaid in Hollywood Studios, the show.
The show, okay.
Yeah. I think the show is just outdated. I think, if Ariel can't sing that day, it's just terrible. And she can't always, a lot of them are great, but every once in a while you get a dud, and it just makes the whole show kind of awkward.
It's funny because you go in and I always forget how, I don't know the year this attraction opened, but it has a very 90s, 80s. I guess it would be early 90s vibe to it, where it's got a lot of lasers in it and interesting effects. But I love the reason for me to go to the show is to see the puppets when they do the under the sea part.
Are for sure the best part of the show.
Yeah.
But I think the rest of it is the lasers. It just feels extremely dated to me. It's not really that I would say, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. That's why it's my number 5. That's why I actually made this last minute change. I think you can go, if you've never done it before, you can go in there and there might be some enjoyment, especially if you love Little Mermaid.
It opened in 1992, so I was right, early 90s.
Yeah, but it's really dated. I think that I think The Little Mermaid is so popular that I don't understand why they haven't just gone back through and kind of given this a little bit of a spruce up, kept to the puppet scene.
Well, yeah,
that's great.
This came out in 92, so Little Mermaid came out in 89, so it's still pretty close to its release. And I get this is a beloved Disney classic now, but now we know the things we love. Give Little Mermaid a little more love. Give her some more love.
Yeah, right. Well, and obviously it's stood the test of time, I guess, because it's been there for so long, but it hasn't stood the test of time in that it's just not as good as it probably was when, I bet in the early 90s when it first opened, people were like, lasers, whoa, all this. So, I don't know. It just needs some more love to spruce it back up.
Okay. What about your number 4?
Number 4, this is some people's at the table's favorite.
Oh, goodness.
Goodness.
Gran Fiesta Tour.
Oh, come on.
In Epcot. I know Craig likes it too, but I just think that it's just... I wish it was just Donald animatronics, and I
love the little ones at the end, the 3 caballeros.
Yes, I love them. I love them too. And it's not the screens that are the problem. It's the way that the screens are used, and that it's not making you're not seeing a town or whatever that you're going through. Mm-hmm. It's just TVs of bringing you into random different places. Do you see what I'm saying?
What my issue with that attraction has always been, I love it in a way. Not I don't love the attraction, but I love the opening where you're going through by the pyramid, and the restaurant's on your right, and you're out there, and it's got that very Pirates of the Caribbean, Disneyland kind of feel to it. But then I don't learn anything about Mexico as a place or a culture other than these weird Donald, okay, they like to dive off cliffs sometimes maybe, and then this guy in the restaurant, they like to eat duck, I believe, and then so it's a lot of, I feel like I wish I was learning more about it when I was going, I guess, but that's not true of all of the places either. So.
I think that's a basic take on it. I feel the same way I do on Frozen. Frozen Ever After, you don't need to... that's obviously not just based on Norwegian culture there, But there's aspects of it that when I ride through, I'm like, okay, well, this gets me more interested in Scandinavian culture. The same thing happens to me on Gran Fiesta tours. I see parts of Mexico that maybe I don't know that much about, and I'm like, okay, well, I see this landmark here, and maybe I want to read more about it. Or going through the town setting. Now we have Dia de los Muertos everywhere, but 15 years ago, I feel like you barely had any culture or anything on that. You flowed through there. That's what got me interested in that entire celebration as a whole. And so it's never been wow, I'm repeating myself there. It's never been about teaching you right up front, but maybe inspiring you to actually make the effort to learn more than about the country.
Yeah, and that I actually think's great. I just wish that they could figure out a way to depict that without using, again, it's not screens, it's just the way that they're used. For example, in that ride, Donald is swimming in a lagoon, and it uses it's like in what looks to be a cave, and so I think that works perfectly because it actually looks like him being at the cave. But for example, like the one where he falls down the pyramid where it looks like a staircase. Yeah. That is, why couldn't they have made a model of that pyramid as, an actual thing? And then I could learn and appreciate, that must be a place in Mexico, but it doesn't need to be. That one is why does that need to be on a screen?
So, and I understand everybody's points, and I don't necessarily disagree with them, but for me personally, Gran Fiesta Boat Tour I have the strongest connection of memory to it. When I'm on that ride, I remember years back trips, and I did get a feeling of nostalgia. I'm overwhelmed with it, and it doesn't even start when I get on the boat. It starts when I walk into Mexico, just the pyramid. I walk into Mexico on even a hot day, and I get that whiff of breeze of the smell of the chemicals in the water, and tortilla chips is pretty much the smell that you get, and then I don't know. I love that ride so much, and I understand it could use some innovation and some updating, but I don't know.
Well, what do you have for your number 3 on there?
Number 3, the magic carpets of Aladdin in Adventureland.
Craig's favorite.
Yeah, Craig loves this one. So yes, it is just there's multiple problems here. Mostly for me, the thing that bothers me the most about it is that it just clogs up Adventureland, and it's not clogging it up for a great reason, because the ride itself is not that good. If this ride were to totally be so great that it makes Adventureland kind of clogged and crowded, well, whatever, it's a great attraction, but it's not a great attraction. It's a Dumbo clone, and it also I know we had actually talked about this. The theming doesn't make sense there, because you got the rest of this Polynesian tiki thing going on, but then it's Agrabah.
Yeah, it's you've got the Tiki Room, you've got a Jungle Cruise, but then now, I understand this was, this is way later, but then you've got Skipper Canteen, which is on the corner behind you, and then they've added the Dole Whip on the side. It's kind of why this doesn't make sense there. It didn't make sense placement-wise to begin with, and I've always just been kind of indifferent to it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. But now the more that work they've done over there, the more I'm this definitely doesn't belong here.
Yeah, Caribbean and the tropical Pacific, I feel like those do fit in together better, even though they're not side by side, obviously. But it does. But I mean, it is still adventure nonetheless in that, so adventurous in a way. So I can give them at least a half pass on that. What I don't like, because I don't know if I'm going to put this on my list, I hate that this is one of those experiences that if you're there by yourself or with 2 people, you only get half of the experience, because the front of the carpet controls the up and down motion, and then the back of the carpet controls the tilt on it, tilting up and down. So front up and down, and then the back one controls tilting. Mm-hmm. So you'll be tilted up or maybe tilt a little bit down, not drastically. So it really doesn't add that much to the ride. So you go by yourself, you say, maybe I'll sit in the back. Then you start going up, and you can't, because you're in the back seat. Yeah. Or let's say you're only with 2 people. So, okay, we sit in the front. We're going up now, but now we can't do the other aspect of it. So it's why even bother with that? Just make it like the rest, and you suffer if you don't sit in the front seat. If you sit in the back, you just have to enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
Well, and I've never had this happen to me, but you kind of bring up a good point. Like, it would be so terrible if you sat in the back and then you had a family or like two people sit in front of you and they decided that they didn't want to go up and they just kept it down the whole time.
I never thought about that. Like when you're in Dumbo, it's just the one seat for you, right? So that, I guess I never really thought about it like that you have to ride with somebody else.
And usually they'll put you by yourself if you're one or two. They won't pair you off with another person. It's just, and I'm sure even if you tried to sit in the back, they would be like, no, you're going to really want to sit in the front. Or I would hope they would say something along those lines. But it's a dumb concept, in my opinion.
All right, Steve, number 2.
Number 2, Beauty and the Beast live on stage at Hollywood Studios. Again, kind of like Voyage of the Little Mermaid, this is just a really outdated show. It was never supposed to be a permanent fixture in this park. That stage was created, I think, as a way to then they were going to have the next thing, but that next thing never came. And so we're just left with a really outdated show with really weird costumes. Craig has pointed this out to me before. Why is Chip taller than Belle? And
I've never, even the first time I saw that, I remember being like, why are they using these costumes? Why isn't it more like when you go to, and I know this is newer than this attraction, but that's a reason why this attraction needs to be updated, is when you go to story time with Belle at the Magic Kingdom, Lumiere is the size of Lumiere and he talks and interacts with you on the banister. So why don't they do that for a show? Or like when you see Frozen, I know in Disneyland when they do the show out there and on the cruise line, when Olaf is around and as part of a show, it's Olaf's actual size. He's the smaller, he's a puppet, that they use. Why isn't there puppetry involved in Aladdin Beauty and the Beast at this point?
It's because they don't want to change and update the concept. And to me, bringing the characters mixed in with real life characters, I feel like that's an outdated concept at that point. It was great. It worked back in the day.
Yeah.
But now I feel like because we're all attached to our phones, we all expect a certain sense of realism. Now it's a lot easier to accept it when it is real, but it's harder to sit back and watch something like this. It's still perfect for families. I'm sure kids eat it up left and right, but for me, I can't get over how terrible it looks.
So what I will say about Beauty and the Beast is the first time that I saw it, I actually really liked it. And then when I went back and I saw it with Haley for the first time, we both actually liked it. But I've walked past it multiple times, I've never felt the need or the desire or the want to go back and do it again.
So low repeatability, even though you thought you liked it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
fair.
And the hard part about it too is it is a summary of the movie. So I know it's not the only show to do that, but when I think about stuff, again, I don't mean to keep doing Disneyland, but we recorded Disneyland before this, but I think about Mickey and the Magical Map, which is a show over there, and it utilizes very popular scenes from other animated classics, but it weaves them into a new story. I like Mickey's Magical Map, but
I do too.
And I kind of wish maybe it could use Beauty and the Beast, but why not tell me a different story that isn't the main movie?
Yeah, good point.
Something like that. They've made other spin-offs that can go home, but what's your number 1?
Number 1, Primeval Whirl. I think it's the worst attraction at Walt Disney World. It gives me a headache every time I go on it because it just whips you around so much. The theming is basically cardboard cutout glorified. I know that's being
the whole theme of that land is supposed to be that it was these people who had created this roadside attraction to compete with the the Science Institute, but it's not. I don't feel like that comes through for a lot of people. That's a very Americana type of look at it, but it's for me it's concerning because I feel like the Dino Institute is really nice and cool, but it kind of is just stuck in this corner.
The other thing I don't like about that Dino Land explanation of the theming is I feel like Disney really tries to push that explanation, but when Disney does theming right, they don't have to.
That's a very good point.
You get the story.
I just made a duck noise. I'm sorry.
You get the story from the get-go. They don't need Disney doesn't have to lay it out on the table.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's part of it. So that kind of weaves into the rest of Dino Land, but I think Primeval Whirl is the crowning drool. Actually, that works perfect. of Dinoland because it's just so terrible.
Well, especially in a park that is so beautiful and has a lot of. And I know that Everest was not an opening day thing, but they came in and made this beautiful looking attraction, a cool experience, and you like kind of go to the safari or the Maharaja Jungle Trek or any of these places anywhere else. It's just got this like elegance and beauty to it, and then you're like, and then we found Walmart in the corner, like
yeah, and I mean like. This is another thing that probably would end up on my worst list, but I wouldn't be able to put it on there because I've never ridden this either. But I've never ridden this specifically because I can look at it and say, this is something I would never want to do.
Exactly.
If you're worried about going on Tower of Terror from motion sickness, I think that this is like worse because it has the ricketiness of Space Mountain, but it's also like spinning you around, and it's just so terrible.
And spinning is the worst thing for me.
Well,
so
and I like thrills when I'm like going through it for a great story. So like Tower of Terror, like I was saying, like that. Yes, that is really thrilling, but you're going through an experience of a story that makes sense. Primeval Whirl, I think, is just like it's just trying to be thrilling to like throw you around and
it's a Six Flags attraction.
And there's just no payoff to it. There's no like, what a great story that was, or how immersive that was to me. It's like, no, I just feel sick and I didn't get anything out of that.
Oh, well, there you have it. Steve's top 5 worst attractions. He's got Voyage of the Little Mermaid at Hollywood Studios, Grand Fiesta Tour at Epcot, Magic Carpets of Aladdin at the Magic Kingdom, Beauty and the Beast live on stage at Hollywood Studios, and Primeval Whirl at Animal Kingdom. He absolutely least favorite, worst attraction at Walt Disney World there. So if you agree or disagree with Steve's opinion, that's it. I don't know what to tell you. They're Steve's opinions. You can leave comments about what you feel like are the worst attractions, or tell him why he's wrong, but leave it all in the comments below if you're watching this. Thank you guys for having this discussion. Thank you everyone out there for watching and listening. That'll do it for this episode, but we'll be back with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World. Bye everybody.